What is healing? How can we heal? Is healing available to all of us? Yes, it is. And how can we find a way of healing that works for each and every one of us? I am Brigitta Dau. I'm the Mind, Body, Soul coach. So I am a life coach. I'm a Reiki master. I'm a Pilates instructor, a creative expression facilitator. I'm also an author. And I pull from all of these different modalities to create an opportunity for healing. So stick around to find out, what is Reiki? Is it woo-woo? Is it real? We're going to talk about some myths about healing, myths about some of the tools, myths about, is there only one right healing modality, and 5 action steps that you can use to start to improve your life tomorrow.
Welcome to the Masters of Wellness podcast, your ultimate path to holistic health, wellness, and success. Discover the powerful fusion of Eastern wisdom and Western science, designed to balance your mind, body, and spirit. Our channel brings you holistic wellness practices, effective strategies to boost productivity, and insights on stress reduction and active aging. Join our global community and transform your life with holistic wellness. Cheers to a healthier, happier you.
I'm originally from Canada. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia originally, but I have lived in Los Angeles for over 30 years, I think. And so it's a big, that in and of itself. So I moved in my very, very, very early 20s that is a cultural difference between Canada and the United States. Even though we lived so close, we're right next to each other, there is a difference there. Yeah, so that is a part of my journey, my life's journey for sure, is that big move at a very, very young age. And then I came to Los Angeles, and I've been here, and I am now a life coach, Reiki master, creative teacher. When I say that, I'm a crafting teacher. I also teach knitting. I love combining creativity with healing and self-improvement and self-reflection rather, and manifesting or expressing, because sometimes we can express ourselves more easily through creativity, or finding mindfulness through creativity and healing itself through creativity. I'm also an author, and I do have an Etsy shop, and yeah, that's it. That's where I'm at right now. So
Change is inevitable, growth is a choice. So
yeah.
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. Change is inevitable, and the growth is a choice, right? It really is a choice. It's always going to be the more expansive and juicier choice, and which means courage, which means willing to feel uncomfortable, which means willing to step out onto what I call the skinny branches. You're having fun, you're taking risks, you're doing the thing. And then we get older and we learn, not everything always is going to go your way. And then you get to a certain point, and those skinny branches, there's more at stake. And I think we have a choice of, do I want to just play my life safe, which is a choice, and there's nothing wrong with that, or do I want to see, do I want to go for it? Do I want to try this growth thing? And it could be over, when we say growth, for me, that means those internal obstacles. What if I overcome this belief system that I've had since childhood? What if I overcome any kind of physical challenges that I may have had, or these stories I had that I wasn't athletic, or I, wasn't, whatever the things are that we're battling within ourselves, is there an opportunity for us to grow and maybe move past that? And maybe, embrace something new that could completely change the trajectory of your life. And it's a choice. And I don't judge anybody who says, no, I want to just stay really close to the tree trunk where it's really safe and there's security and there's comfort here. There's nothing wrong with that choice. But to me, I'm excited about people who say, yeah, I want the skinny branches. Let's go see what's going on out there. Take some risks, step outside of our comfort zone a little bit, and let's see, and live a bigger life. Maybe.
Yeah.
There's no promises. There's no guarantees. But to me, my depth and what's been really exciting for me in my life is both me taking those risks and supporting other people taking those risks in a way that works for them.
If we have a viewer that's listening right now, they've been diagnosed with something, or someone they love has been, what do you say to them as maybe a first step to get to this step first? Maybe it's acceptance, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What is first step? And then what kind of advice do you give them? Because I know it, speaking from experience, it can be very overwhelming when you first are finding out about it. Those first 2 weeks, those first 2 months, you feel like it's never going to slow down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that you just said it, the slow down, the taking that moment, whatever the issue is, or if it's a diagnosis, if it's a challenge, or if it's something that's chronic. Also, to me, the first step is to become curious and compassionate, those two together. So I say this a lot with clients when we're working specifically around, for example, food. I work with a lot of women who have disordered eating. I have that in my history as well. And the first step to healing that is not getting harsh with ourselves. It's actually the opposite. And it's changing the way we even communicate with ourselves. And the way I speak to people or suggest to people speaking to themselves is, sweetheart, what's going on? And those words, sweetheart, that's one of them, sweetheart. Because that's a loving, and you can even see, for the people who are only listening, if you're watching, you can see I'm already hugging myself a little bit, like you would, like I'm holding myself, like, sweetheart, what's going on? What's going on with you right now? And just to be really genuinely curious, which is challenging because we kind of want to stay in control, particularly if we're frightened. If we've been given a diagnosis, or a loved one is going through a crisis, we want to control it, and that's totally normal.
Mm-hmm.
Of course we want to control it, but guess what? That's probably, you may or may not have any control over this situation. So to me, it's being curious and compassionate. Sweetheart, what's going on with you right now? So genuinely curious, because a part of you might be really angry. I'm mad, I'm angry, this isn't fair.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'm terrified, or I don't even want to deal with this. Forget this, total denial. Where's the next food that I can eat, or where's the next drink that I can have? Get me out of Dodge, right? It could be any reaction, but unless you ask with curiosity and care, you're not going to know. And that's where you start, in my opinion, and to just gently hold your own hand through it. And as a practitioner, I would work with them and, what is going on? How are you doing right now? It's all okay. We're at whatever you're feeling, but let's just know where you're at.
With every one person diagnosed or going through some sort of really scary health event, there's about a dozen other people who really feel like that, who really feel
Mm-hmm.
as if they don't have the ability to do anything to help. They probably want to say a million things. They probably want to do a million things, but is it the right thing to do? We just don't know, right? What do they need? Talk to these folks, because they're our viewers, they're our subscribers. They come, they want information too. They're on their own health journey as well. Maybe this is lighting their fire in their health journey. So talk to them. What should they do? Because it might be putting angst in their lives as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I think asking that question of the person who's the center of it, the one who's in the center of the storm, I do think asking, what can I do? How are you? What can I do for you? And then if they're saying, oh, I'm fine, everything's fine, I don't need anything, they may not know. They might genuinely not know what they need, or not be comfortable with asking for help. I mean, I can speak for myself on that one. Asking
Same.
for help that's a big deal. Having people help you can feel really uncomfortable. I'd mistrusted it at first when people were reaching out to help me at various times in my life. I thought they had an ulterior motive. Talk about living in LA. I thought, well, everyone in LA has an ulterior motive. What do you want to help me for? What do you want? Meanwhile, they just wanted to help. And so fair enough. And then I think you can look for small ways to support. So for example, I have this happening right now with someone I know who's going through cancer treatment. And so a very good friend of theirs has prepared some food and brought it over to them in containers that you can just dispose of. You don't have to deal with who brought the dish, who do I return the dish to, which sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? But you know what? It's just one more stressful thing to deal with. And if you're already uncomfortable receiving help, this is a godsend. Food, and I don't even have to deal with who brought it. I don't have to remember who to thank. Thank you. That's huge. That's just one example.
I'm curious, life coaching, creative wisdom, where did Reiki come into this? Was it before or was it after? Can you then also explain to these viewers that may not have ever heard that word before, what is it?
Yeah. Okay. So Reiki is a Japanese energy technique that supports healing and stress reduction. That's the textbook answer
Right.
that I will give you. And I know you're smiling. You're like, It's so much more. It is, I call it the cosmic dustbuster. Just comes in and just zip, clears all the crap, excuse my language, out of the way, so that you can be more authentic, so you can actually have clarity around what it is that you're wanting to work on or wanting to manifest, or it can go in pretty much any direction you want from that point onward. But that's really what Reiki is. It's a beautiful healing energy. People generally, after having a Reiki session, feel lighter, feel more connected to themselves, feel more grounded and more energized at the same time, and truly more authentic, and they just have more clarity. They're more themselves, if I can. That's kind of the best way to put it. And again, that can look like a lot of different things depending on the situation you're coming to the practitioner with. So my journey is I was a Pilates instructor, and after working with people in that Pilates world, you kind of become a coach. And then I started working with a life coach myself, and I thought, oh, wait, this is fantastic. I love this. Not everybody needs the physical work. Some people this is what they need. It's another way of supporting people. So I did that for a while. And then I've always been curious about energy work. And a good friend of mine, it was during the pandemic, I was watching her life and what she was doing. And she had circled back to energy work as well and had become a Reiki master. And she reached out to me and said, girl, you got to get on this Reiki thing. If you're coaching, you're going to love this. And I said, yes, I will. And let's do it. And so my training was all done remote, all done through,
Wow.
Yeah. So which is why that's what I primarily do now. I do, distance Reiki 100% of the time. Oh, not 100%, but most of the time it's on Zoom in large groups of people, or at least small groups of people, and almost always at a distance, because that's how I was trained. And that's where I saw the miracles happening. So, and it's lovely because people can stay at home with their pets. And they don't have to deal with traffic and driving here to get a Reiki session. That's fantastic. And I work with people all over the world. So it's wonderful. So that's how it went. And honestly, when I first went into Reiki, I thought, I'm just going to use it for me. Because it's kind of, I don't know, it's not out there, but it might be out there for some people. I probably won't use it. And then as soon as I started using it, I thought, oh, no, that's silliness. I'm using this with people if they're willing, which is the most important component of Reiki anyway, is your willingness to receive. If they're willing, I'm game. I'm all in with the Reiki. So, and both have its place though, because coaching is important. Mindset, you got to do the work. You still have to do the work. Reiki's not magic. It's not going to fix all your problems, but it does support you in whatever it is you're pursuing, quite honestly.
2 weeks ago, we had a really amazing guest. His name is Keurig Ashley. And one of the examples that makes me think that if we can share this here, it will help many folks who probably think Reiki is completely woo-woo and realize it's not. He described a story about just how frequency and energy works. And what's crazy is this wouldn't be an option. This was available to us at all times. We just figured out how to tap into the frequency for us to be in a video like this. You're in LA, Ed's in China, I'm in Virginia Beach. This is always available. We just figured out how to tap into that energy. Same thing with the radio station. If we don't like it, we turn it. All that is, you can't see it with tuned into that station. That is frequency. That's the same type of energy, if I understand it correctly. And I could, of course, we all butcher the name, Reiki, whatever it is.
However
you want to pronounce it. But that is what Reiki is. It is tapping into those energies and being able to focus it in on any part of your body, which the practitioner will be able to just sense from their training. Part of that body they did get some feedback on, and they're going to go ahead and give you some healing there. And pretty profound.
It is profound. And you're right about the frequency. I kind of liken it to, you're right about the radio station. That's one of the best examples of tuning into the frequency you want to listen to. And it's really what you're doing. And it's similar to also the sunshine. I can put the blinds up and the sun's still out there. I might not be co-creating with it. And so part of working with a Reiki practitioner is just figuring out how to open the blinds. And then you can co-create with the sun. And then you're involved with life energy. And again, that life energy that we're talking about, it knows where there's blockages. It just knows, and it knows, because I will work with people who say, my shoulder's a problem. Okay, so well, obviously I'm going to send Reiki to the shoulder, but there's a good possibility Reiki's going to go somewhere else, because it's not just the shoulder. There could be something else that's going on that's actually more pressing, that's blocking the healing. And that is an aspect of Reiki I love, because also my ego gets to not be involved at all. I get to take a step back and just allow, which I think is really unique thing in healing.
It's hard to get that ego to not get in the way.
It's really hard because anytime something has to be interpreted through a person's brain, it's going to have a flavor of that person's personality, which is fine, but it's just going to have that flavor. And that one thing with Reiki, when people are receiving Reiki, it's going to them. Their experience is their experience. So when I work with people, I ask them what their experience is. Sometimes I won't even tell them what I noticed because it doesn't really matter what I noticed. What's important is what they experienced and how their healing is working. And it doesn't need to be flavored by my thoughts and my ideas for it to be for their highest good, which is what we're going for with Reiki.
Absolutely. Ed, I was going to ask you if you've ever had a Reiki session. And I remember now the story that you shared a long time ago where your mom basically gave you a Reiki session. You want to share that story?
Yeah. Thanks, Chuck. Actually, as Brigitta was talking about it, it was bringing back a lot of those memories as well. My mum has been quite a well-known fitness professional, health professional in Australia for many years. Back in the 1980s, she was one of those ladies with the leotards, the fluorescent leotards, and she'd be up there teaching aerobics classes and aqua classes and things like that. I would show up to class and I'd have the boom box on my shoulder, and I'd be responsible for pressing play and pause on the music for every track. And I used to mix the tapes for her and everything. Tapes for people out there. We used to have tapes. It never used to be online. But through her journey, she had studied many different methodologies, and one of them was Reiki. And I've been living in China now for almost 20 years. My mum is in Europe. I've got brothers in Australia. Like, we're kind of an international family. We're all over. But there has been times, and one time in particular, when I was having a particularly difficult day or particular difficult time, and she called me. She said, "What's going on?" I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "I can feel something's going on with you today." And then I said, "Oh, yeah, there's a few things happening." She said, "Tell me about it." Proceeded to tell her. And then she said, "Where are you right now?" And I said, "I'm sitting in my living room." She said, "Where?" I said, "On the sofa." And she said, "Okay, hold on." And then I could just feel this warmth coming over me. And it was, as you said, going to the different required parts of my mind or body, and just a sense of calm and healing. And the things that I thought were difficult, suddenly they just melted away. And I thought, actually, it's not that bad. I can work through it. And so, as you said, the energy finds where it's needed. And at that moment, maybe I was thinking about something that I thought was the priority, the prime problem. But later I found it actually wasn't that at all. Like, the energy found a different way. And having lived in China, I'm obviously exposed to a lot of traditional Chinese medicine and practices, and like acupuncture and breath work and healing. And I've actually seen these real images where they do energy color imaging of people. And you can have 2 or 3 people side by side, and they have these images of them. You can see the colors that are radiating off different people. And the people that are more open and aware and holistic healers like you can see the reds and the oranges and these bright colors emanating from them. And then the people that maybe are very, very stressed, or they're not really in a healthy place, it's very blue and very cold looking. And these are real images coming from these, I'm not sure the technology that they use, but in real time you can see it. And then you can actually see when one person transfers energy to another person, you can see the warmth and the oranges and the reds moving to the other person in real time. And then that person starting to have a warm glow about them as well. So sometimes people think, it's a little bit woo-woo, it's hard to explain. Actually, scientifically, we can see it happening in real life through certain technologies. And anyone that's ever felt it or experienced it, it's real. Some things cannot be explained, but that they exist, and that they're actually real. Many years ago, I'd studied martial arts. So through that, we learnt a lot about energy transfer as well. We could be standing opposite our friend in the class, the martial arts class, and just put your hand on their chest or on their hand or anywhere on their body. And you can move and shift your body a little and feel the energy moving between you. And someone watching as an observer can look at two people standing there seemingly not moving. But if you're one of those people, oh my goodness, you can feel so much energy transferring and moving between you as you're standing there and having that interaction. So I'm a firm believer on many different levels of energy healing and energy practices.
Yeah, absolutely. It's real. And yeah, there's so many crazy stories. There are. But there's also a practical application to it also. I feel like, because I just did this over this last weekend, I was at a retreat, an art camp in Texas, and I was doing a Reiki session with some people, and one woman was talking about the vision she had of the tree. She just wanted to stay in this forest. I won't get into the details, but again, it was a tree, and it was a pretty substantial tree trunk. And then she said, and then the birds, of course, were flying. And I was like, oh, okay. And she's telling me this story. And she said, so were there birds? And I said, right here, like now when we were doing the session? She said, yeah, because we were outside. And I said, no, there were no birds flying overhead at all. It's been quiet. And she said, oh, because I saw them and heard them. I said, well, that was part of your experience, which is lovely. And so then we talked a bit more about it. And I said, this is, and her question coming into it was kind of knowing, like, how do I proceed in terms of these few things that are coming up? And so that sounds like a beautiful vision and it feels really nice, but it's also very practical, because to me, it was very clear information. It was stay grounded, and you can be both grounded and liberated and free and singing and grounded and at the same time. So there's a few things. There's what do you need to do to be grounded? What do you need to do to be, and if it's a big tree trunk, there's wisdom there. So maybe you need to just bone up on what you know, or what do you need to know moving forward, and what do you need to do so you can feel liberated and free and as you move forward as well. And it was wonderful information that as a coach, I would never have come up with that. Right. But her vision from Reiki was very clear to both of us. It was as clear as a bell and practical. So here you have this beautiful energy, and you can trust it because it was her experience. And she felt really safe with it. And as you were saying, it's like you can feel it. It's happening. It's not make believe. It's really happening. She's really experiencing these things. They resonate with her. And then through further examination, and there's the clarity that she wanted. Thank you. From her higher self, from her.
And I remember in the early days of our podcast, one of the stories that Chuck was sharing, among many of the amazing stories that he has shared, was his Reiki experience was on the back of, or kind of coinciding with, his health journey that he'd been through. And the Reiki master that he worked with was identifying areas in his body where he was holding some ill health. And even before he told her what was happening, where it was in his body, she knew. Chuck, do you want to maybe just remind of that?
Yeah, it's funny that you brought that up, because it's weird how the brain works. I had even forgotten that part of the story, because when I was talking about sharing my story, I was going to go further back, but let me talk about that. My first introduction to Reiki was not after I got sick. Okay. I knew of Reiki because of a few years before that, which I'll tell you in a second, which was the story that I was like, I got to share this. But thank you, Ed, because you're right. When I showed up after getting diagnosed with thyroid cancer, I didn't tell her. And her and I, we never really, it was weird. We would sit and talk for an hour. That was our session. I went and saw somebody else for a actual Reiki healing session. But even my Reiki specialist that I met with and would just talk with, she kind of sensed it as well. But the other young lady that I had met, and just, finally I'm going to lay down. I'm going to have someone heal me.
Yeah.
Right. Because I had just gotten this other relationship with Trinae, and she, she could put her hands on me, but let me just see what this other lady can do. And at the end, she could say she sensed that there was something blocking my neck. And I never even told her that there was anything going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So she certainly your throat chakra was something we got to release that. We have to work on that. I worked on healing your throat chakra, and it was pretty profound. And that was actually when, remember, Ed, I think that was when I was sharing the fact that that's when it came to me. I have it in the show notes here. I think this is what Ed wants me to get to. It came to me then when they were doing the Reiki healing, sort of like your patient, that I was really contemplating whether or not I wanted to do ayahuasca. And it came to me at that Reiki healing session. Forget what the actual image was, but it was weird because she almost said, there's something, I get the sense that there's something that you are hesitant to do, and I'm being told you should go do it. So she was intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, hold up, all right. That's when I went and go ahead. I just signed up to that day to do ayahuasca. But my first experience with Reiki was when we found out that my son needed a liver transplant before the age of 3. So this was 4 years ago almost. So this December will be 4 years. Going through the stress of that, plus on top of that, I was trying to be a donor so I can donate a portion of my liver to him, and rigorous tests. The last thing I wanted was to get a call from Georgetown University and have them say, sorry, all the beer you drank in college makes you not qualified to save your son. So I was just, oh my gosh, I think I was more stressed in that environment or waiting for that phone call than I was even going through the surgery. But the biggest stressor was I knew my wife had to sit there by herself, conscious, while me and my son were unconscious, getting our bellies chopped open and sharing livers. Yeah. And so I looked at my wife and I said, Leah, I think we need to talk to somebody because this is a really incredibly stressful environment for both of us. We're handling it well for the most part. I think we never really have ever yelled at each other or talked, like we argued, which is great. And that didn't even then, but you could feel it. It was just all over us and lots of crying. So when I said, Leah, I'm going to reach out to somebody to see if we can talk, I just had an instinct to go to something alternative. And I looked up on the center in my area. We had just moved to Virginia Beach and then booked at that point, it was COVID still. So it was like that. And she talked to us for 2 1-hour sessions. And fast forward to my wife, she said she was so calm. She was kind of scared that she was that calm, right? She was very positive, and the Reiki specialist, I mean, really, all we really did, Trinae is her name. Like, she just talked to us. It wasn't even any healing going on like you're talking about. And it was really just the way she framed the thought process of how we were going through what we were going through. Like, she life coached us, you know?
Yeah. With the energy, trusting the intuition too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had a really crazy, like in terms of sort of more along the lines of, well, no, actually what you're talking about, well, too, I was going to say Ed, but also you, where you're the practitioner you worked with or the master you worked with sensed the throat area. I had that happening with when I was actually going through my Reiki master training. That's how I knew this was real, because there was always a part of me too that thought, woo woo, is this real? I mean, really, I think so. I think it works for me, but I don't know. And then, so when I was becoming a Reiki master, one of our practice, you're sending Reiki to one another over Zoom. It's part of the class, part of what we're doing. And I was feeling menstrual cramps in my stomach and in my areas. And those days are over for me. And I thought, well, this is really interesting because I haven't felt cramps in 5 years. So this is fascinating. And I thought, well, this is obviously for this young lady I'm working with, which is fine. And so afterwards we compare notes, and I said to her, are you having is you having a rough month and that I'm experiencing cramps, particularly on one side, but like, are you okay? And she's like, oh, interesting. Yeah, I just had a hysterectomy 2 weeks ago and I know. And it's like this, like, how would I know that? I'm looking at her like you guys.
Right.
And she said, and I'm having phantom limb, but it's phantom fallopian tube because they took one on the side. And that's when I thought, okay, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
This is real. And that's how I knew. So that is how my body, I know I don't always physically feel things that other people are feeling, but sometimes I will. I'll get a sensation through my body and I will not necessarily again know why. See, again, this is where my ego, see, my thought was, oh, she's having a really rough month. That's all. No, it's not that at all. It was something else completely different, but in the same area, and Reiki was going where it needed to go to help her, to support her with that. And that's the kind of Reiki magic that I do love. And I just love that that you were able to find someone who could talk you through such a stressful time, because that's just so much energy to hold down.
It
Being
really
the
is.
one person while both the two loved ones are unconscious and being operated on at the same time. I mean, that's unbelievably stressful.
Well, we got through it, and we found a healing modality to get through it, right? We found a resource. So talk to us a little bit about the process of becoming an author, the book Crafting a Better Life. Tell us about
Yeah.
that process was like. How's life been since, and what's the book about?
Oh, thank you. Well, so I'm actually working on another book with another author. I'm very excited about that one coming out next year, which is going to be, it's just kind of the next step. But the book that I wrote, Crafting a Better Life, Creative Approaches to Personal Growth, is where I combine a little bit of crafting. There's crafting in there because I love being crafty and playful and expressing ourselves creatively. So all the crafts in the book are easy. Everybody has everything you need. You don't need to go buy anything. That's also really important to me. You don't need to go buy the latest thing. You have it in your home. And but it is about my first, it's about mindset work. It is about coaching. And I had been putting out newsletters about every 2 weeks for my, the people who followed me. And enough people said, when are you going to write a book? So, I kind of realized the universe is talking to me. I should probably do that. And so, but it's very different writing a book than writing a bunch of newsletters. Let me just say, it's a lot of work and just the mindset of that. And, if you ever decide to write a book, to anybody listening to this or watching this, it will bring up a lot of wonderful issues for you. It's an opportunity for growth. Let me tell you, there's just so much of feeling overwhelmed, feeling super excited at times, thinking you're done. Nope, you're not done. You forgot a whole chapter. I loved that. I thought I'd written the whole book and I'm like pretty happy with it. And then I realized I hadn't included a single chapter on boundaries. How can you have a book that's life coaching that doesn't talk about setting boundaries?
Mm,
Because I had issues with that still.
gotcha.
Interesting. So I felt like, okay, well, you need to do some work here. And of course, anytime you're teaching something, you already level up your skill set, because it's one thing to understand something. It's quite another to talk about it and quite another to teach or write about it. So the whole process was wonderful and challenging. And also resources are really important for something like this. For me, writing the book itself, I knew that's just me sitting down with a computer. I can do that. That's pretty manageable. It's just a matter of, being disciplined, carving out the time, show up, do the thing. Then there's this whole getting it edited and then getting it to a publisher, and somehow there's other magical thing, like it ends up on Amazon somehow. How does that happen? Like, that's a whole world that I don't understand at all. Who's going to make that happen? I didn't know anybody. I had no clue. So you just start to look at who do I know who does some things. And I realized, oh, I have a good friend of mine who did my headshots, so I'll talk to her about doing the photography for my book for the crafting. And then I realized, oh, I completely forgot her husband's a professional writer. He writes books, he writes scripts, he writes commercial copy. Oh, what do you know? I have a person I can actually go to and ask. But I'd forgotten about them because I just didn't think about it. I just was in overwhelm. And so in my opinion, the best way to do is you look at who you know, and you start just little baby steps and put it out there and see who can help. And there is a little bit of that silly feeling, let's put on a show, right? Like, we can do it. Let's do it. And if you're enthusiastic and you're excited about it, whatever your project is, whether it's a book or whether it's an entire business that you're wanting to build or whatever it is that you're doing, if you're genuine and enthusiastic about it, people want to join you and they want to help. And you'll be surprised the amount of resources you actually have. And when I say resources, I mean people. People are resources. People who have helped, who can help you out. So nothing that's great that I have in my life I've done by myself. It's always been in community, in a collective, in some way, shape, or form. So that's to me the benefit of writing that book.
Yeah. Brigitta, this topic on book writing is so bizarre. Like 12 hours ago, Chuck and I were talking about this, right? I do have a question, like, 'cause
Sure.
we're thinking of the exact same thing. We thought, if we, as we go forward and we want to reach more people, the whole purpose of the Masters of Wellness podcast is to share wisdom and great information to help people live healthier and happier lives. Like that's it. We just
Right.
want to have a hub where we're able to share the information. So we were thinking about what other channels can we also use to serve that purpose. And one of the things we talked about was book writing. So with regards to book writing, for anyone out there listening and watching, considering to write a book, how do they face the imposter syndrome factor?
Mm-hmm.
Is anyone going to want to read my book?
Mm-hmm.
And then I guess the second one, which is probably a little bit of the same topic, is do I have anything valuable to share? Did you face that? Do you know people who face that? How can we make sure that that doesn't happen to us and we can have the confidence to move forward?
Great question. The imposter syndrome, here's the truth is, for most of the things we're talking about, someone has written about it already, but they wrote about it. You didn't write about it. It's your interpretation. It's your stories. It's what you bring to the table. It's your flavor. Just like, that's why there's not one doctor or one coach or one therapist. They're all different because they all bring something different to it and they have their own approach. I mean, even writing books, you can go to Amazon and see how to write a book. And there's probably, I don't even know, 1,000 books that'll tell you how to write a book. And right. So that's, I think, the number one buster of imposter syndrome is, but nobody's here telling it the way you're going to tell it. And again, the conversation we were having before we started this is people are curious about each other's stories. Your story is really important. You will help other people grow and heal and maybe, take some risks in their lives and be the best they can be from your story, from hearing how you did it. We don't know who, sometimes we know, but rarely do we know the impact that we really have. We don't know who we're inspiring. We don't know who, for example, listening to this, whoever's watching this, there might be someone out there. There might be a woman thinking, oh, I don't know. And then I just happen to say, yeah, go for it. Do it. And she's thinking to herself, maybe, well, if she can do it, maybe I can do it. That's fantastic, right? That means that my experience, me stepping out onto the skinny branches in my life, has empowered another person. Wonderful. That's great. But you do have to put your work out there.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember a quote from Andy Warhol. This is actually a quote in my book, which I just love. And he says, my job is to create art. It's not my job to like the art. It's not my job to decide if my art is good. My job is to create the art. And whether you're an Andy Warhol fan or not, it's true. It's not his job to decide whether it's good or not. His job is to put it out there in the world. It's up to us to decide, do we like the artwork? So there's that for kind of getting past that imposter syndrome. And then ultimately, I think you already know what you want to put out there, because if you're willing, if it's about contribution, if what you're wanting to do in the world is about connection and contribution, it's always going to be worthy. I think that's what this world needs, is just more connection and more contribution, positive contribution, and it will find the right audience. Do it. Okay. So now get the schedule. When are you going to show up? Now you got to do the thing.
Yeah.
Get your butt in the chair.
Forward by Brigitta Dau.
Yeah, there you go. Forward saying, do the thing.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for that.
Your next book is about how to write a book?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to tell you how to write a book. You go buy a book on Amazon telling you how to write a book. It's there. Yeah. But does that answer your question? I kind of went off on a tangent, I think.
Yeah, absolutely it does. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I do have another question. Chuck, sorry to just jump in here, but I guess kind of while we're on the theme or the topic, Brigitta shared that she has experience in her life that has helped to shape her understanding and maybe empathy and openness to take on and to learn different methodologies, including Reiki. Mm-hmm. So when people are out there and they type in online Reiki healers in my area, they're going to be exposed to a lot of different choices. Mm-hmm. And then it comes comes down to filtering who is the person that's right for me. How do people find you? And if people are navigating that path to look for holistic healing and someone to assist them, how do you help them to make the right choice?
What a great question. Always, it doesn't matter really what the healing modality is. I would say you always want someone with some experience. And I'm going to go with my intuition. For some reason, my mind is pulling me towards my Pilates background. When I got my Pilates certification, the doctor that I studied with, who's a physical therapist, he was a specialist primarily with back pain and did lots of research in the University of Miami with people who'd lost limbs, soldiers and things like that, who'd, major trauma to the body and to the spinal cord. So that's what I studied with. And he was he said, now I'm a specialist with back pain. Now, is that because most people with back pain know to come to me? Or is it because I have become a specialist in back pain and therefore people with back pain know to come to me? And it's an interesting question because if you keep getting the same people all the time, is it just because you're known for that thing? Or is that where you're a specialist? Which is an interesting question and neither is wrong. It's just good to know. And when you're newer when you're a practitioner versus a master, let's say, or when you're a newer coach or teacher of anything, really, you're going to be limited by how much experience you have. It could be limited in terms of your demographic. If you live in a small town, you're just going to get those people, if you're a Pilates instructor, for example. Whereas if I'm in LA, big city, I'm going to have all sorts of different ages, all sorts of different people coming to my class. That's why some modalities require 500 hours of training for people because they want you to know that we've seen a lot of bodies walk in. So you've seen a lot of things happen so you don't get frightened when something happens. You've seen it before, which is good. I do think most people in what we're talking about have gone through some sort of a trauma and there's a difference between going through an experience and really growing and having a wonderful outcome. And then there's the going through an experience, growing, having a wonderful outcome, and then having to go onto the rooftops and scream it to everybody and say, I'm going to do this and I need to share this with everybody. That's a different kind of person. And so if you're finding people who are practitioners, they're that person. They're the one who says, oh yeah, this is big. I got to share this with people. So they're learning it on a different level. Because again, just like I said, to teach something and to share knowledge, whether it's teaching or just sharing, coaching, you need to learn it on a different level. You get it, not just up in your head. You're going to learn it. You're going to metabolize it. You're going to walk it. You're going to have to walk your talk at a certain point. So I think when you're discerning who should I work with, it's a valuable question to say, just like if you're looking for a therapist, for example, and let's say you have a traumatic childhood, I would want a therapist who specializes in PTSD and who maybe can help me work with internal family systems and who can do these sort of new things, do EMDR. These are new forms of working with stress and with trauma that I would want to know. How familiar are you with this? And how did you come to discover this? Because most people, if they've been doing this a while, we've had a personal experience. And it doesn't have to be, when I work with people, my history is I've overcome, I'd like to joke and say the trifecta. I was addicted to tobacco. I've had disordered eating since I was 8. And I had alcohol use disorder as well. So that's 3 biggies. So I got a lot of history. And
Wow.
and I can say that without judging people who have gone through those situations. I'm not going to judge or shame anybody who's going through any kind of a situation like that. So I do think that you can ask. You should be able to ask. The other thing too is when you go on your Google search and you find people to work with, I would say they should be willing to talk to you a little bit at first. If they just want your money right off the bat, I mean, I don't know. Doctors, I know you need to make an appointment with the doctor. You pay for that appointment. I get it. But I always offer a free phone call. Let's talk and see if we gel. See if I can help you. And if I can't, maybe there's someone I know who can.
And I would add to that, one of the first sentences I said to you today when we first came online together is, Brigitta, there is something about you that is super, super kind. And I think the skill set of knowing how to use Reiki is one part of it, the technical side or that side. But the person delivering and hosting those skills is also really, really important. You can have someone that studied all the books on Reiki and how to do it, but if they're an asshole of a person, it's never going to work.
It's not going to work. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And particularly with healing. At least that's my feeling. I don't know anybody who's really healed and grown when they felt victimized. You need to feel safe and supported.
Yeah. Thank you.
So, well, thank you for that compliment. Thank you.
And I would have to concur. You are very delightful. And I would imagine that in these Synergistic Sunday groups, you're even more delightful. Talk to us about those.
Yeah, Synergistic Saturday and Synergistic Sunday, same class. One's on a Saturday, one's on a Sunday. I love that class. So this is a group, it's once a month. It's usually the second Saturday and the second Sunday of the month. I say usually because you and I are talking, it's November. Next month is December. Things get crazy, so it's going to be the first weekend of the month in December, but usually it's the second. So keep that in mind when you're listening to this. And it is a 1-hour class where I send out journal prompts ahead of time to people. Now, I don't know who does the journal prompts. Everyone's adults. You don't have to do them. We're not in school, but I do send them out. I'm a big fan of journaling. I like journaling, but it's not a prerequisite. So they get the journal prompts. We show up on Zoom together. And we catch up a little bit. We say hi to the new people who are joining for the first time. I have some people who've been with me for years and always someone new coming in. We're thrilled to see anybody. Again, it's a lovely community of people. We do a little bit of movement first. And the movement isn't to get really strong. It's to get grounded because we're up here. Particularly if you've been doing the journal prompts, you're up here. So that's where journaling is limiting. I love journaling, but it's limiting because everything's up here in your head. And so we need to get into your body, get you present. So we do a little bit of movement. And then it's a full 30-minute Reiki transmission that I send to everybody. And then then we share what happened for those people who want to share. Not everybody has to share. And then we do it all again the next month with a new group and new Reiki. And it's been interesting to teaching 2 groups, Saturday and Sunday, because it can be a completely different experience. Same music, same journal prompt, same movement sequence. I do tell people if you take both days, you're not going to get anything different from that. But the Reiki's always different because of the people who are showing up. It's fascinating to me to just feel the complete difference from one day to the next, just based on who's receiving and who's willing. And of course, I'm different too, but I think it's more because of the people who are there and their willingness to receive. And I've seen some amazing growth. It's just an honor.
What is the most surprising breakthrough you've seen with a client? It's like you're reading from my show notes.
Am I reading from? I've seen, there's so many. One that I can give you a really, there's been, one was an ancestral. I'm going to give you 2. I can't give you one. I'm going to give you 2. The one was ancestors, and her ancestors came. She's originally from Italy, this lady. And so her ancestors came to her, and there had been a war, probably I'm assuming the First World War, and they were not on the same team. They were enemies when they were in real life. And yet here they were friends together for her, to see her. No animosity between these two. Just what she was receiving from them and the unconditional love that she was receiving, and just knowing that, you can lean on us, really was the feedback that she was being given of, we're here for you. And we, looked like we were fighting each other. No, in the overall scheme of things, no, that's not, you don't have to worry about that. And it was and she came out of it afterwards in tears, but happy tears, like just amazing. And she hadn't gone into it with that intent. She had gone into I don't even remember now what it was she was hoping to have clarity around, but that's who showed up. And it was amazing. It's just incredible, the depth of, the depth of forgiveness that I can't even put it. Obviously, I'm having a hard time coming up with words because it was just so incredible for her to see that and experience that. And it was real. I mean, this really was, there's no war here. Fascinating. And knowing that both of these people had fairly violent lives at a certain point. So there was that, and then that was amazing. And then the other one was a truly practical, once again, I love when we can apply practical things. She had come in, she was in a group, and it was actually Saturday, Synergistic Saturday, I think. And I knew what was going on with her because she's a coaching client. She had a show. So this is LA. She had a show, a pilot she'd written. She had a showrunner. And the showrunner, and for those people who don't know what I'm talking about, a showrunner is kind of the person who makes it happen. They find the producer, they find the money, they're the magic. They're the one. It's like, how did that happen? You have a really great showrunner, and they somehow make all the magical things happen. So she had this showrunner, which is a great step. But the showrunner was a real pain in the ass and kind of a drama queen, to be honest. And I said, well, okay. And we had talked in a coaching session about, well, what are you going to do? You can use this person, but you're going to have to manage him, you know? So not only are you the creative, but you're going to manage, which you can do. It's a mindset. You can learn how to be a good manager. You can manage people. It's not what she wants to do, but it's not impossible. You can certainly do that. And she said, yeah. She said, or I could just let it go and just write something else. You know, I wrote that, I can write something else. And I thought, okay, well, we don't know. So then she came to the Saturday, Synergistic Saturday. And afterwards, she's lit up. And I'm like, what's going on, Deanna? What's happening with you? And she said, there's a third solution. I said, what are you talking about? There's another option. There's not just managing this guy. And there's not me just having to give it away. We never signed a contract. I said, what? She said, I'm not contracted to work with this guy. And the way she described it to me, I assumed that it was his project at this point. She'd found the showrunner, he'd attached himself to it. That's how they're going to go forward. She said, I can just say no. I can just say no. I'm going to just find someone else. Which how did we not think of that? It's kind of, again, it's kind of obvious, but it wasn't obvious to us because we were stuck in our little brain, you know, this thinking, narrow-minded thinking. And it just took that Reiki just to go put it up and say, there's a third option here. There's always a third option. We can't always see it. And Reiki often will help you, as you had said, Ed, about seeing what's the priority here, or how can I look at this a little differently, just changing your perspective. And then you can find another option that might be the best option.
Just turn that dial.
Yeah, just turn that dial. Yeah. Yeah.
So are there any wellness myths that you just love busting?
I was hoping you'd ask me that. Yeah. Okay. The two, well, I already mentioned one, that journaling, like when you're having a problem, go journal about it. Okay. Yes. And I'm coming at it from being a journaler. But if you want to stay in your head, and if you want to chew on it and go around in circles and circles and circles and circles, that could be what'll happen when you journal about it, unless you are very active with your journaling and asking really good questions of yourself, which is pretty hard to do, particularly if you're in a state that you're thinking, I need to journal about this. You're probably not that open-minded at that moment. Okay. So all that does is just reinforce the crap that you're saying either to yourself or that you'd like to say to the other person, or whatever make-believe world you're going into in your head. Whatever drama, it's keeping you in your head. That's the one, because I don't think that that's helpful. I also don't think that meditating is the cure to everything at all. At all. Sitting and doing nothing is not necessarily the answer, and it can actually hinder it, because then it creates another problem, because now I can't meditate properly, and I'm destined to fail at all of these things because I can't quiet my mind. No. I don't believe in that at all. Meditation has its place. Coming from a Reiki master, this is what I do.
Wow.
You know? And I'm saying it's not the be all and the end all, because it isn't. And I've said this, people can receive Reiki as you experience in motion. You can experience Reiki while you're out on a jog. You do not have to be sitting still, you know, meditating with a clear mind to receive Reiki. No, you can be walking the dog. That is fine. You can be in motion and receive. And I think when you're feeling very strong emotions, and of course, we're talking likely about the uncomfortable emotions, anger, frustration, despair, you know, heartbreak, things like that, sitting and meditating is almost cruel, because that emotion needs to move. It needs to move. So I would say, go for a walk, go for a run, ride a stationary bike, dance, thrash, shake, do some tapping, scream, punch a pillow. There are a million things you can do to get that energy moving. And then maybe you can journal about it, or have a meditation about it, or put on some music and cry. So those are my peeves.
Gotcha.
You can see my body language change when you asked me
The
about it.
myths are journaling and meditating. All right. Like, hey, you've heard it here. Probably the only podcast you're going to find this. This is great. By the way, I
What
don't
do you
just,
think?
I
Do
mean,
you
look,
agree?
Yeah,
I've
I
had
absolutely love it too.
meditating my whole life. And
Mm.
you know what helped me? Ayahuasca. Seriously. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a better meditator. Granted, I still don't do it for a long time. If you had our other co-host on here who comes on every so often, Alex, he's like a professional meditator at this point. The guy is literally like astral projectiling into the space, and he's like seeing crazy stuff in his meditations. It's nuts. But my mind is too, his mind is too. I don't know how he's doing it, but yes, I'm much more gentle with myself now after ayahuasca. And you'll probably go back to some other notes if you ever want to find out what Hape is, but Hape helps me a lot too.
Okay.
And I really loved one thing you said there. I'm not a professional on the English language, but I have learned something about the word emotion. Motion actually means energy in motion.
Mm-hmm.
And because I have worked with many clients as a fitness trainer years ago, and a lot of people are carrying that emotion inside them. And we know energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only change form or it can move, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people carrying that emotion inside them, just the simple activity of doing a little bit of fun boxing or a little sprint on the treadmill or pushing some weights or something, it's taking that energy and moving it somewhere else. So that's why people feel unbelievable after they do an exercise class, like they go to the gym, because there's a psychosomatic reaction. Your mind and body, you're moving that energy from a place where it should not be, or it's being stored in a negative form, and you're moving it somewhere else. And then most of the feeling people have, the endorphins rush that they have, is actually a release of the negative energy out of your body, and it kind of resets your body again. So I would have clients come to my class and just burst into tears. Oh, I've had a terrible day.
Yeah.
My boss, oh, my husband, oh, my kids, oh, my money, blah, 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 whatever. And I would just say, and they'd say, can we just sit down and talk? And I said, let's go for a walk. Let's just go for a walk. And we go for a walk, silence, a few minutes, and then they'll start to share something. And then I'll pick up the pace a little bit without them realizing. Let's power walk a little. Okay, let's stop here, do a few push-ups on the park bench and things like that. And after 45 minutes of that, they're like, oh my God, I feel so good now. Thank you, Ed. Oh my God, it's a miracle. And it's much cheaper than going to a shrink, right?
Yeah. Right.
And
Yep.
much more
Yeah.
effective.
Yeah.
So pay
Much more.
attention out there, people. Your mind and body is absolutely connected. If someone is just sitting down with you every day and trying to digest or unpack trauma and things in your life, it's not enough. You
Mm-hmm.
need to find a way to physically move your body as well to help that emotion and that energy and that information to be able to have somewhere to go as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I know there are yoga practitioners who can support people working through, for example, trauma, because they move it. And it is great too, if you're feeling something, where am I feeling it in my body? But again, this goes back to the very first thing we were talking about, of being curious and compassionate with yourself. Where am I feeling this? I'm upset, I'm angry. Where is it in my body? And can you move it? Because I shouldn't say the instinct, but I think our reaction to it is often, I don't want to feel this. I don't like it. I don't want to feel it. Or I just generally want to check out. Or if they are coming to you, for example, like I'm having a bad day. I don't feel like working out. I just want to deal with what's going on right now, because that's more important. Meanwhile, what's more important is for you to move that energy, move that emotion. And in the process, maybe come up with, again, that other solution that we didn't think of. Because we were just narrow-minded thinking.
Do you think that maybe today's society is harder to move these emotions because of all of the mind-numbing things that we now have, like Netflix that just automatically puts the cliffhangers in there, so you have to watch the next episode? And darn it, why don't you just make it a movie so I could be done and move on with my life in an hour and a half, please? And
Yes, that's
TikTok,
the whole.
which is entertaining, and you just keep scrolling, and next thing you know, how did I just kill 2 hours?
Mhm.
You don't have to think about life when that's in front of you. And we literally have a life of people who walk everywhere, and this is what they're doing. So they're not thinking about any of those emotions. And when they're quiet, that's when the things pop back up, because they never push those emotions away and move them, right? Like you both are talking about.
Yeah.
Piles back up, and now we have 12 emotions we're dealing with. And then you're going to see a therapist, and then you're on antidepressants, and you never fixed it. You never dealt with it. I don't.
Yeah.
Is that a big reason why we are where we are right now?
I don't know. It could be. I mean, I do feel that there are so many things to distract ourselves with. I think that social media and just, technology in general, look at this. It's amazing. It can be amazing. I've personally experienced technology to be, in terms of connection, amazing. It's just, it's hard to beat sometimes. And also, it can be a huge distraction. And I think that's true of all things, though, because I've personally experienced where food can be nourishing and it can be an enemy to me as well. It can be my worst enemy, or it can be full nourishment, depending on how I approach it and how I use it. If I use food to solve an emotional problem, there's no nutritional solution to an emotional problem. That's a good, I didn't make that one up, but it's a great one. But it's true. And if I try to use food to solve my problems, which I've tried before, and trust me, I failed 100% of the time because it doesn't work. Food is food. That's all. It doesn't solve your problems. But if you think it will, if you use it, it becomes a problem. And it's the same thing with socials. If I think I go on Instagram to feel a connection because I'm following all these people and I'm looking at their feed, that's not connection. That's entertainment, which is fine. But that's not connection. This is connection. This is connection. So I think if people are understanding, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? I went after my trip recently, I had very little access to any kind of Wi-Fi, which was great. But I caught myself a couple days ago, just scrolling for a little while on my phone. And it actually felt really nice because I knew what I was doing. I was looking at, the and the goats and the things that I hadn't seen in a while. And so I'm scrolling along. It's no different than watching Netflix, honestly. It's the same, but I knew what I was doing. I was checking out for 20 minutes. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. It's if I think I'm actually connecting to people with that, those goats, like I think I'm getting to know the farmers and this is a whole thing. No, that's not happening. That's just me. The time is just getting sucked out of me and my energy is getting sucked out. And that's, I think, where it becomes a problem.
My mother reminded me that when she was a young lady and going to her office work or whatever on the bus or the train, that people would have their noses stuck inside the newspaper, right? Or a book. So they're still not necessarily interacting, making eye contact with people. They were kind of in their own little world. But one of the differences was when you've got a newspaper open like that, your eyes can scan and choose what I want to read, what I want to absorb. And one of the differences with the social media is a lot of times we're being forced to look at stuff that we're not necessarily choosing. So that's where you said the puppies and the ghosts and things like that, you're selectively choosing things you want to look at, which is important. So I agree with you. Technology and a lot of the socials has a fantastic place in our world if we're mindfully using it and we're selective about what we're exposing ourselves to as well. And there's one other thing, just going back a couple of minutes. What I love about your synergistic Saturdays and Sundays, is that right?
Yeah.
You start with movement, because if those people just sat down on the Saturday or the Sunday and okay, I'm ready for the synergistic Saturday, and it just starts like with dialogue like this, a lot of them are just still going to stay stuck. They're not going to get any benefit from it. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you. Absolutely. It's always been, again, synergy. It's all the things where mind, body, soul, that's all there. And the body is important. It's a great GPS. In my opinion, it will tell you, again, going back to one of the things I do when I work with people with food issues and how they create a peaceful relationship with food is to listen to your body. Is your body hungry right now? Does it want to eat? And again, for people who don't have issues with food, that's kind of an obvious one. But if you've ever struggled with any kind of disordered eating, when we're not hungry all the time, which is an interesting thing. If you're not hungry, why are you eating? What are you eating at? What are you eating to avoid? Are you numbing? Are you bored? Are you lonely? What's going on? There's something else going on. And so to tune into your body will give you so much information. Our body does not fear the past or worry about the future. It's here right now, in this moment. It's the best information you have,
There was
in
one
my
other
opinion.
thing. There was one other thing you brushed over earlier about some experiences that you'd had in your life. And one of them you mentioned was an unhealthy relationship with food from the age of 8. Like that blows my mind when I think about, I've got kids, Chuck's got kids, like the thought or the sadness that we feel as parents to think like, oh my God, I feel very sad right now. Just the thought of what would a child be going through that they're having that experience or they're needing to take that path. Do you feel comfortable if we dig a little bit deeper to talk about what caused that and how you overcame it?
Yeah, absolutely. I say the age of 8 because I was starting to diet with my Hello Kitty diary. So whatever age that was, so I'm guessing about 8 years old. So that's when the diet mentality began for me. My mother was very much a dieter, and probably I could say she had eating disorders most of her life. And I was born in 1970. So that matters because diet culture was huge. Every little girl knew about diets, at least in North America. And again, I grew up in Canada. It was no different. The States. And I remember my magazines, Tiger Beat magazine, I loved. And there were diets in there for little girls. And there were calorie counting books that you could order away for, and you would count your calories. So this was culturally already being put into our heads. And now it's changing a lot now. This new generation, I love. They are not, there's some kick-ass amazing stuff going on with the young women now. But for a very long time, even if you looked at ads for things, for example, surfing, right? If you look at a surf shop, there's a picture of a woman holding a surfboard in her bikini. She looks awesome. And there's a picture of a guy on the surfboard surfing. Okay. So one person's experiencing his body and experiencing the vibe and the wave and all the things. She just looks great holding the surfboard. And that's coming in, and talk about not having any control over what's coming in. That's just one, and it's everywhere. You know, that the dieting mentality started at that age. And then you add to that any kind of family issues going on. And there was, I mean, I grew up in a pretty great house, but I will say that my mother had a lot of mental issues that went undiagnosed, eating disorders being one of them. And so didn't feel safe, but a diet helps everybody feel safe because there's rules that you can follow. I'm good if I stick to this and I'm bad if I do that. And it's overly simplistic, but at that age, you're looking for, am I a good person or a bad person? And I can't predict how my mom's going to be. So I can at least predict this. I can predict if I've been a good person because I can stick to these calories. And that's how you start to build that desire for control and becoming hypervigilant with food there's so many different ways that can go. But that's my childhood experience of always knowing about being on a diet. I can't think of a time when I wasn't either aware of a diet or on a diet or wanting to be on a diet or breaking a diet, anywhere in between. Yeah.
And was there a fork in the road somewhere along the line where you realized this is not good and I'm going to change it?
Yeah, it followed me my whole life till about my 50s. And at that point, I was very bulimic. I was bulimic. Can't be very bulimic. Bulimia was the darkest time for me with eating disorders. And I realized at one point, I just can't do this anymore. I have to stop. Something has to happen. And I found Janine Roth, who is a wonderful writer about emotional eating, and started reading her books and just threw myself headfirst into her guidelines that she offers. Again, eating when you're hungry, stop when you've had enough. These are kind of obvious things, but when you're a disordered eating person, you have to literally learn how to eat, how to listen to your body, how to tune in, trust your body. So I went through her guidelines with her book, and that's actually how I got over my eating disorder, quote unquote, got over my eating disorder. So I got over the bulimia, but I wasn't over the binge eating disorder, which I didn't know about. That terminology wasn't around back then. So I thought I was pretty much under control because it was not hanging over the toilet. I wasn't doing that anymore. So I still would have periods where I'd be binging and starving and doing these things, but I thought, well, that's still better than what it was. And I think that's about as good as it's going to get. And then I kind of still continued to practice with the guidelines from Janine Roth. Again, I did seek therapy, but it wasn't particularly helpful. I have to say most of this was self-realized for me, really a lot of trial and error. I don't recommend people to do it that way, but now that's why I say, talk to me, I will help you. You don't have to go through this alone. But for what it's worth, it worked, and it was slow going, but I did it. And then I've come to really, it's been lovely to uncover the next layer of healing food and using food as an opportunity for growth, actually, since also giving up alcohol. Because there were a few things that definitely correlated in terms of using alcohol as a way to escape, or using alcohol as a way to numb out so that I didn't have to feel what I was feeling. It's very similar to what I was doing with food. So then when I took away the alcohol, then it was like, okay, hi, food's still here. I still need to eat every day. It's still there. So I, lovingly say food is the gift that keeps on giving, because you got to eat every day. Whereas you can live without alcohol, you can live without cigarettes, you can live without whatever the drugs are that, you might have issues with, but you cannot live without food. You have an opportunity there to get curious and be compassionate with yourself with every bite you take, if you want. And so there's been another layer of uncovering to where now I feel finally where I can say I'm quote unquote over it. But when I say that, it means there are days like yesterday where I found myself eating chocolate when I wasn't hungry. But I'm not beating myself up about it now. Now it's an opportunity. Now it's that growth opportunity of what's going on here. This is interesting. What's going on? Having a more intimate relationship with myself.
What's going on? And you answer to yourself, it's just yummy.
It's just yum.
It's
and
yummy.
It was, it's good, but it's like, do you have to eat all of it? Well, there's only one piece left. Well, leave the piece if you don't want it. But I could eat, yeah, it's a whole conversation there. Yeah.
And I just won't buy that again, so I'm good,
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's interesting.
one tool that if you want to mimic reading a newspaper, being in control of what you're watching, is on here, on YouTube, on your profile, if you use your phone, where it says you, click on you, and then there's a history. Just go right back. Everything you've ever watched is in that history, and you can go right back to what you were watching or listening to yesterday and finish it. So that way you can control what comes your way. That's what I do when I find something I want to watch and I'm not sure if I want to subscribe or I don't want to lose it. I'll watch it for a couple of minutes and then I'll just, I don't know, do the next task that I needed to get done anyway. And I know it's in my history, so I can go back and find it.
Oh, that's good to know.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
What is one tool?
Sorry, I was just going to say one thing, Brigitta. 1970, I live in China, 1970, year of the dog, same as me. And that's why immediately the first 60 seconds of meeting you, I think of a Labrador or a golden retriever, the personality style, right? So that's why you're loyal, you're caring, you have emotional intelligence as well. So that explains a lot.
Thank you. Yeah. And thank you for telling me that. I've always wondered, and people say, oh, just go to next time you're at a Chinese food restaurant, look at the menu, because they always, or the placemat, because they always have the days. I'm like, but I'm not at a Chinese food restaurant right now. I need to know. So now I know. Thank you. Good.
Yeah.
That fits for me. I love that. I love Year of the Dog. Good. Good.
So Brigitta, what is one tool that you believe everyone should try at least once?
Reiki. Just going to say it. Reiki. Or creativity. I think coloring is great. There's all these, you can get, any drugstore now has coloring books. And every drugstore you go to has colored pencils. Colored pencils. And you can color. And it's fascinating what comes up when you are creative, because it's so interesting to me to see, let's say you color outside of the lines. Are you going to turn the page and start over with a new page because that one's ruined because it's not perfect? Like, does your inner perfectionist come up and say, oh, that one's been ruined, start a new one? That's interesting to me. That's interesting. So it's always just an opportunity to go in. Also, if you're coloring, and I used to do this, I used to start with the colors I didn't like first and then work my way to the colors I liked the most. And I thought, why am I doing this? I don't even have to use all the colors if I don't want to. But there were some rules that I had. Some part of me was saying, this is how you color. Who says? So coloring is fantastic. It's fascinating and it's super cheap, and you could do it for, under
You're
$10.
an equal opportunity colorer.
Yeah, I was, apparently. I didn't realize. But I was still judgy because I still had some colors I liked better than others.
Right.
But that in Reiki, I mean, I would say find a place where it's everywhere. It's not hard to find. Reach out to me. Come join my group.
We will have it in the
And
show
you mentioned
notes.
earlier that you do knitting. Did you knit that sweater?
I did.
Wow,
I did.
gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, I know.
Amazing.
Look at the nice. See, there's some nice detail here. Yes,
Wow.
I did. Yes.
Let's do some myth busting, right?
Okay.
Actually, we're gonna have a big myth busting section right now, right? So, bust this myth: you have to choose only one path to heal.
No, not at all. That's craziness. No, you can't. No, that would not. No. What path would you choose?
The myth is that you can only choose one. You can't try a bunch of different ones.
No, just like tools, you've got to have multiple tools. You can't have just one path. You can't just have one tool, because it's not going to work every single time. That's what gets us into trouble. Just using, for example, food. If food is going to solve me all my problems, I've got a big problem, because food is not going to solve all my problems. I got a big problem. I need skills to solve my problems. I need a lot of tools.
Would you say the same would be said for Reiki? Reiki's not the only
100%.
healing path.
100%. And in fact, I would say for a lot of, again, these changes, I'll go back to another thing I just talked about, alcohol. Did it make it a little easier for me to look at why I was turning to alcohol? Yes. Did it solve my problems? No, it did not. Reiki did not solve any of my problems, but it made it's, as I said before, it softened the edge of what I was looking at. It made things more safe. I felt safe.
Yeah.
I felt safe looking at what I had to look at. I could do it. I felt comfortable with it. I felt more like myself. I felt like I got it. It's going to be uncomfortable, but I can do it.
Like you said earlier, it helps you find your authentic you.
Yeah.
Which they say the highest frequency is authenticity.
Well, you're pretty unshakable and unflappable. When you're in alignment with your authenticity, it's pretty hard. You can make the tough decisions pretty easily.
Interesting listening and learning from you, Brigitta, and reiterating some of the things that I had experienced and that I know, and also allowing me to see different perspectives of the same thing. Like your experience with Reiki is different to what my mother and what I have had, which makes it even more of a rich methodology and practice for people to try. And I do believe one thing you said is that Reiki will find where it's needed. It will go to where it's needed. And I think that's something that's really incredible about it, that where you are, the amount that you need, the location, the time, this area, and you can be out running, you can probably be, driving your car, and it can be serving its purpose for you at that time. So I really like that. The universe has the energy out there. It's just a matter of, are you tuning in to allow the frequency to come in and provide the healing that you need? That was a big takeaway for me. And another one was, you spoke about that you have had a very colorful life experience, and that has allowed you to have a more broadened life experience to be able to share and identify areas where people are. And I've just done like a little picture here. You can see it.
Let's see. Oh,
Right.
Wow.
Some people, their life goes like this, right? Or they plan that their life just goes in a straight line, right? And we know people that have lived their life like that. People that grew up in a small town, they're still there. They grew up their family, they're third or fourth generation doing the same thing, owning the same farm and whatever. So, they've got a life that's quite linear. But people like you, and I do believe people like myself and Chuck as well, we've had some diversions along the way. That has made life very interesting, very colorful, but has given us a wider view and experience that we're able to understand and see things and share experiences with other people. So you've given me and us the confidence to let go of the imposter syndrome. The incredible experiences that we have had certainly can help other people. And the right people will be drawn to what we have to share. Thank you.
And you're going to write the book, right? That's another takeaway.
That was going to be my first one. It's like, all right, our number one takeaways, we got to write a book. You heard it here first.
You said it out loud. You know you have to do it now.
2025, people. You heard it. We have to start writing that book. This has been a really cool episode. And for me to talk to you and the Reiki kind of coming full circle, not that the circle's closing because it's going to stay open, if that makes sense. It's been really cool for me. And then hearing from you, verifying to everybody that's listening that healing is holistic, but courage is always required to try new things. Yeah. And I would really want to encourage everyone to be courageous and try new things. You don't have to go try Reiki, but yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I think it'd be a really awesome experience for you if you're open to it. But try new things. Maybe it's none of the things you heard in this episode. Just try new things. Expand your horizons. We want to put action steps together to help our viewers. Anyone that got this far in the video, they could take these 5 steps. And if they take these action steps, we all believe it's going to improve their lives, even if it's gradually. I'll throw out the first one. Try something outside your comfort zone. Number 1, if you keep seeing those people in the sauna at the gym, but you're like, I don't want to go in there. That's gross. All these people, they're all sweaty. If you say that's uncomfortable, that's exactly what I want you to go do now.
I like that.
Brigitta, what do you think? What do you want to throw out for number 2?
I think take some time in the next few days to even set your phone, if you need to set an alarm, to just stop what you're doing and check in and just see how you're feeling. And since we talked about emotion and motion, what am I feeling? What am I feeling and where in my body? Am I even in my body? Am I a floating head right now? Which that I know I can be. Floating head. Do I have a body? Apparently I do. Where am I? Take a moment. Take a time out. Be present. What's going on with my body right now? Check in. And with again, that curiosity, just be curious. What's going on? You might notice, oh, my feet are cold. I'm hungry. Mm-hmm. Or, just notice what or I'm angry. I'm sitting here with fists. That's interesting. Why are my hands in fists? What's that all about? Let's open that. Let's just check that out. Yeah, that's a takeaway.
I love it. Ed, what do you think?
Step.
Yeah, we have the power to have an angle of looking at something that can totally change our experience of it. And an experience came to mind for me. I used to live in Shanghai. Shanghai is a super city, 25 million people. You can imagine the rush hour in the mornings and the evenings is crazy time on the subways. It's like you see in those videos where they have people outside to shove people in and the doors closed. So you're literally like body to body, 360 degrees with other people during those really, really busy times. And I used to dread that moment. I used to think, here we go. And I only had to travel maybe 17 minutes to get to my stop. But every day it was like a trauma experience for me. The next day, I got on the subway, and instead of dreading it and thinking this is going to be a traumatic experience, I got on the subway, and the first thing I did is I saw a person that seemed a little bit stressed out, and I just happened to make eye contact with them, and I smiled. And then they just smiled back at me. So I felt like I've probably changed this person's day, and I've changed mine in the process. At the same time, the subway started to move. So there's like a shift in the energy, and people start to grab onto something. And there was an elderly lady that was within reach of me that looked like she was going to lose her balance. So I just reached out with my hand like this, and she grabbed it to hold her balance and gave me a nod of acknowledgement. There was a warmth, a touch there, right? Just helping someone. And then behind me, I just had this fragrance, really beautiful floral fragrance. And I looked around, there's a lady beside me and she had this beautiful perfume on. And I can still remember that smell. I thought, oh my God, that's really lovely. And didn't say anything, but I always hold that memory. So those 3 experiences there changed totally the way I looked at riding the subway in Shanghai. And thereafter, I always looked at it as a positive experience and an opportunity every day to change someone's life or to have a good experience myself. And it's the same subway, it's the same time every day, but the way you look at it totally can change your life and other people's lives as well. So when we are changing our own life in the process, we may be changing other people's lives as well without even realizing.
That's a beautiful story.
Yep.
I would say my next one would be find a community for support. Join our community for now, and that will expand into additional and new type of digital community when we figure out that process. But regardless of where that is, if it's our community, if it's Brigitta's community, if it's a different community, you need to surround yourself with people who are thinking and talking and positively influencing you in the areas that you want to improve in your life. And then number 5, back
Number 5.
Miss
Back to
Brigitta.
me. Oof. I'm going to say sometime in the next few days or a week even, set a date. Set a date for yourself and go for a walk if you can without earbuds. Don't listen to this show. That's cheating. Nope. No listening to the show. Just go walk outside and use that as an opportunity to just, again, be curious and notice. Notice what you see, what you hear, what you smell, and if what's going on in your head and off. And if you can walk for, or if you can be outside for, 20 minutes, it's much like meditating, but it's a little easier, I think, because you're moving and you're seeing and your brain has something to do because you're hopefully paying attention to your surroundings. And notice what information comes in, because that to me is also a great way of connecting with your higher self. Just going for a walk and just slowing down and noticing, and see what you hear.
Well, listen, if you got this far, you clearly are serious about making positive change in your life. Please like, share, and do all of those beautiful things that YouTube needs for us to grow this channel so that we can make an impact in more people's lives. And more importantly, please send a message below. Let us know if you're going to do any of these 5 practices, these 5 takeaways, and maybe share a story like Ed about, being on a train and holding some lady's hand and smiling at someone and smelling a beautiful fragrance. Share that story. We want to hear it. Brigitta, it's been amazing having you here. We love your energy. We are all going to help so many people together, and this little pebble that we just dropped today is going to just have a huge ripple effect. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. I've just loved this conversation. I appreciate it so much.
We really, really appreciated that you have watched our episode today and hope that you've had some golden takeaways as we have. If you liked our episode today, please click on this one here. You're going to absolutely love it. Our episode with Kurak Ashley. It's going to be here. He's the author of the book, How Would Love Respond? He talks about mind shifting. He talks about how to achieve anything that you really, really want to achieve in your life and give your life purpose and meaning. It is one of our most fantastic episodes, and he's a super special guest and a good friend of ours. We really, really encourage you to watch this episode. Ready? Click. 3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah.